almost there. What is the prime reason for people to believe in superstitions? In my opinion, the primal cause of all superstition can be traced back to a false understanding of the I. I'll explain. It is only because of the belief in being an individual that is separate from the rest that a person sees the world as being separate from them. In short, it is the beliefs such as I and they, the world and I, or even God and I, my soul, your soul, his soul, soulmates, and so on, are a result of this erroneous fundamental belief. Superstition is defined as the irrational belief in supernatural forces that can lead to good or bad luck, or a practice based on such a belief. It involves accepting something without proper examination or inquiry. Superstition is often reinforced by the belief that a separate entity outside oneself can bring about positive or negative outcomes in one's life. It is a concept central to all organized religions and cults. Now, here is something interesting about why questions. On the one hand, why questions can be applied to learn science and nature, because doing so can help in defining natural principles and understanding them better. When the why questions apply to traditions and customary practices, it can act as a periodic reassessment of those practices and rituals. However, on the other, why questions pertaining to finding the reason why one is born in a rich or poor family, in a particular stratum of society, or with inborn intelligence and talents, is usually answered through the concept of past life and afterlife, or good karma and bad karma in past lives. This blind belief, or the blind belief in such things, provides fertile ground for charlatans posing as spiritual or religious gurus or fake astrologers to manipulate the minds of their followers by introducing new theories or stories, creating fictional characters, or altering existing allegories to serve their own interests. These stories are then taken literally, and followers are expected to adhere to the dictates of their particular group, religion, or sect or cult. Certain international organizations have a number of individuals on their rolls who use social media to continually implant and reinforce duality in the minds of people, especially the youth and children. This is done because in order to run a successful community or organization, there needs to be a unifying factor, or one common fact that everyone agrees with and upon which all the members unanimously focus all their attention. This makes managing or controlling a large group of people a lot easier. I say that duality is the root cause of all evils in the world. One person or a group of people says that they are superior to the others and therefore deserve more. This leads to exploiting weaker people and nature as a whole. Every organized religion says that they are the truest one and that all others are sinners. All societies, associations, parties, communities, religious ashrams, mutts, or any such group divides humans into them and us, don't they? Look at this beautiful shloka from the Upanishad in the Samaveda. It is shloka 672. Udara charitanamtu vasudhaiva kutumbakam bhava bhava vinirmuktam jara marana vachitam. The earth is the family of those of noble character. It is free from all emotions and feelings and is free from old age and death. The shloka says that the world is one family. Where is there any separation among people? Let us analyze this. What is it that separates or divides people? People are people, but their languages and cultures are different from one another's. However, their beliefs and ideologies are the ones that cause massive differences among people, and they also lead them to war. And how is belief defined? A belief is the acknowledgement or acceptance that something exists or is true, in spite of the lack of any evidence or rational explanation. And how is such a belief enforced? Well, usually organized religions do it through the promise of heaven and the threat of hell. Again, this boils down to duality. It is only because people believe, or rather have been mentally conditioned to believe, that there is something outside or separate from their self, that they feel appeasing or disobeying or even annoying that thing could affect their lives. One can say that all superstitions are born because people do not attempt to gain a proper understanding of life and the events in it, either due to religious reasons or because they were taught by their family elders to just follow traditions and never ask questions. Like they say, yours is to do or die, but never to ask how and why. Let me repeat. Duality is the idea that one is separate from the rest, and that there is a separate being called God that is watching everyone and controlling the lives of people. Now, how many people know or are even prepared to be enlightened of the fact that such a childish idea is contradictory to the philosophy of Vedanta? Ignorance of Vedanta arises mainly because many people choose not to move beyond a certain point of their spiritual growth and understanding, and instead prefer to remain on the lower rungs of the ladder that can actually take them to the highest stage of Vedanta. I don't waste my time on talking about stale topics such as how to deal with your boss, how to be popular among colleagues, how to be happy in marriage, and so on. The reason is quite simple. The moment one even begins to shed the layers of ignorance caused by the deep mental conditioning we have undergone through multiple generations, particularly in the last 2 millennia, he or she would almost immediately feel so light-hearted, loving, fearless, grateful, kind, and compassionate merely for existing and for having the opportunity to experience and celebrate life. And when everyone possesses such a state of mind, the result could only be an ideal society with no borders or divisions. One might argue, saying that we cannot change the world. But the truth is that the world is what you perceive it to be. Hypothetically speaking, if we were to apply the Vedanta philosophy right from a micro level within our family and work environment, we could state that the awareness of the sameness of the self in all beings as the all-pervasive Brahman personified as Krishna would motivate individuals to treat others in the same way they would treat Krishna if he were to manifest in front of them. Conversely, if an individual associates himself or herself with a particular religion, sect, caste, or any other group, they are more likely to treat others as unequal or possibly inferior. Vedanta is at the pinnacle of Vedic studies. This has been confirmed in the 2nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains that it is those who are unintelligent and full of desires who are attracted to the flowery language of the Vedas. You might want to read shlokas 242 to 46 of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I'll recite shloka 246 for you. Yavan arthodapani sarvatah samlatodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya janatah. For a man of self-realization, the purpose served by the Vedas is as much as what a small well does when it is flooded everywhere. Self-realization is the complete annihilation of duality. The Sanskrit term dvandva means duality, and nirdvandva means non-duality. Krishna says in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in Shloka 245, Traigunya Vishya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjana, Nirdvandvo Nityasatvastho Niryogakshema Atmavan. Vedic literature deals with subjects such that fall under the three gunas. O Arjuna, you should rise above the three, be free from dualities and the thoughts of acquisition and preservation. Always remain in sattva or goodness and be established in the self. Shloka 5.3 Nyeyahasa nitya sannyasi yo nudveshti nakangshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. A person who neither hates nor desires the results of his actions is known as a sannyasi, or one who has renounced everything. Such a person is free from dualities and is therefore liberated from material bondage. There cannot be anything beyond the self. According to Sri Ramana, Moksha is simply another term for the I of the self. I'll give you the translation of Shlokas 18, 19 and 20 of the 18th chapter of the Tripura Rahasya, also known as the Haritayana Samhita. It is one of the scriptures strongly recommended by Sri Ramana, but the question is, how many of his followers even pay attention to such useful and life-changing advice? Shloka 18. The attainment of moksha or liberation should not be pursued in the realms of heaven, on earth, or in the nether regions. Rather, it is synonymous with the realization of the self. 19. Moksha is not something new to be obtained, as it already exists and only requires recognition through the elimination of ignorance. Nothing more is needed to fulfill life's purpose. 20. Moksha must not be regarded as being separate from the self. If it were an object to be acquired, its absence before attainment would be implied, and the possibility of its recurrence would render it impermanent and not worth striving for. Furthermore, since the notion of anatma or non-self is illusory, believing in the acquisition of moksha is like believing in a hare, the animal, that grows horns. Effective spiritual education is not about filling children's minds with fears, meaningless rites and rituals, and promoting dualistic beliefs. Instead, it entails educating them about the great Vedic scriptures, allegories, and pointing them in the direction of Vedanta. Similar to how parents finance their kids' education and encourage them to do well in school, go to college and continue learning, giving them good spiritual education, helping them further their inborn awe for nature, and teaching them to develop a spirit of inquiry amount to great investments for the future. The genuine desire for truth, which is always present but can be hidden by ignorance, can be fostered in children through philosophical and spiritual education. Now, what could be the reasons that people so religiously perform rites and rituals that also include rather bizarre ones? Fear, greed, ignorance, mental slavery, the absence of the sense of inquiry in them? Ask yourself, isn't it the powerful force of greed that drives people to engage in unrighteous and unethical behavior, and is also a driving force behind superstitions? Ignorant people's desire for wealth or success, as well as their fear of misfortune or pain, can lead them to look for shortcuts and seek out intermediaries who promise to provide them with unearned benefits. This phenomenon is what I refer to as corruption in spirituality. People literally make a deal with a deity of their choice, or rather bribe them to get unearned favors. Such a concept of praying for what one wants does not exist in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. If you've read the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, you would have noticed that even though Krishna was present by Arjuna's side throughout the war as his own personal driver, Arjuna never prayed to Krishna asking him to perform miracles to get him victory. Likewise, Krishna never instructed Arjuna to go to a Krishna temple, offer milk to his vigraha, or sing songs, shave his head, paint his face, dance on the street, or engage in other forms of false devotion. What Arjuna did was to position himself as a disciple of Krishna and ask him to teach him. And in response, Krishna gave him and the whole of humankind the greatest discourse of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, at the core of which are selfless action, or nishkama karma, and self-realization, or atma. Arjuna said in Shloka 2.7, Karpanya dosho pahatta svabhavaha prachamitvam dharma sammoga chetaha yachreyasya nishchitam brohitanme shishyastayaham shadimam tvam prabannam. With my mind in a state of confusion regarding my duty and the feeling of helplessness because of my weakness, I ask you to tell me what is good for me. I am your disciple and I have surrendered my soul to you. Please teach me. Studying Vedanta is your way to attaining freedom from fears, greed, anger, and of course, superstition. The Srimad Bhagavad Gita is known as the nectar of the Upanishads. Superstition is detrimental to you, your family, and the entire society. Duality is the main cause of all your fears. Always remember what Krishna said to Arjuna in Shloka 5.3. Nirdvandvo hi mahabaho. Rise above duality, O mighty armed one. Apart from encouraging you to study the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, I'll give an extremely simple step to start the study of the self. It's very simple. When you feel you want something or you fear something, ask yourself who it is that wants or fears something. Try to get to the source of your thought of I in you. The moment you start looking for the source of the I-ness in you, you will realize that you have begun the greatest journey of your life inwards. Thank you. Stay blessed with excellent health, freedom, peace, bliss, and prosperity. Jai Shri Krishna.